A black man fresh out of prison walked straight into a billionaire's mansion, but nobody tried to stop him. He wasn't there to rob the place, he was there for a job interview. When the wealthy man asked about his qualifications, he was brutally honest. He didn't actually want the job. All he needed was for the billionaire to turn him down so he could collect unemployment benefits. He even had the audacity to hit on the billionaire's secretary right then and there. But Will wasn't offended, he was actually amused. On the spot, he decided to hire Nick as his caregiver. Everyone thought Will had lost his mind. How could a fresh ex-con possibly take care of a disabled person? But Will stood firm in his decision. Despite his billions, ever since his paragliding accident, everyone treated him like some pitiful disabled person. Only Nick treated him like a normal human being. The problem was, Nick knew absolutely nothing about caregiving. He poured boiling water on Will's legs to test if he had any feeling left. He used body wash as shampoo on Will's head. Even during mealtimes, he'd get so distracted checking out Will's attractive secretary that he'd end up smearing food all over Will's face. But Will never got angry. When he was with Nick, he felt a sense of freedom he hadn't experienced in years. Nick refused to do what other caregivers did to stuffing Will and his wheelchair into the trunk like cargo. He said that's how you treat an animal, not a person. Instead, he pulled the cover off a sports car, opened the door, and carefully lifted Will into the passenger seat. The sound of the engine got both of them pumped up. Will hadn't been in a sports car since becoming paralyzed. Nick floored it down the highway, and Will felt more alive than he had in ages. He was rediscovering what it meant to truly live. When they got back home, they found their parking spot taken by a neighbor. Since Will hadn't left the house in so long, the neighbor had just claimed his space. Nick wasn't having any of that. He marched over and dragged the neighbor right out of the car. Will was impressed by Nick's fearless attitude. That night, Will suddenly had trouble breathing. Nick immediately placed a hot towel on his forehead, the first time he'd shown real responsibility as a caregiver. Once Will felt better, Nick took him out to the streets at 4 a.m. to experience a different side of America. They ended up by the river, where Will opened up to Nick. He explained that his real pain wasn't the paralysis, it was losing his wife. Nick listened quietly, and their bond began to deepen. A month flew by, and Will happily told Nick he'd passed his probationary period. Nick was thrilled too, it was the first time he'd earned recognition from a white person.